Welcome to BhagavatSanga program. As you all know, this is our Srimad Bhagavatam program, and currently the theme is prayers of Sukhdev Goswami. These prayers are in Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 4, verses 12 to 23. Very beautiful prayers, and devotees have been reading these prayers for the last few weeks. And today we have a wonderful devotee, Prashanth Prabhu, who will be presenting the prayers, the verses, and his realizations. And I would also like to take this opportunity to thank Prashanth Prabhu for coordinating BhagavatSanga program. And in addition, he was hosting the program in the last couple of weeks in my absence. So thank you very much, Prabhu, for your selfless service. Really grateful to you.
Thank you much for the opportunity. I'm very happy that I could serve and listen to devotees present. Thank you, Mataji.
Thank you, Prabhu. With that, over to you.
Hare Krishna devotees, Pranam Jai Prabhupada. I will share my screen. So today I will present the second half of what presented last time, and I'm taking slightly different approach this time, which is looking at Prabhupada's mood and what Prabhupada wants us to learn, the personal application and then preaching application, similar to what we are doing in Acharya Upasana class. So with that, devotees, we will start. Like Mataji said, this is prayers of Sukhdev Goswami, Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, Chapter 4, verses 12 to 23. I will go through the background, but we will start with just invocation prayers. Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimati Bhaktivedanta Swami Nityamane Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravan Chavine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Veshtani Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srimad Gaura. Hare Krishna 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 Hare Hare Ram 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 Hare. And as we're reading from Bhagavatam, we will say Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya, Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Okay, so I picked select verses to go through based on purport. To start with Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 2, 4, Chapter 4, 17. So this is in the middle of Sukhdev Goswami's prayers. And this verse, he starts talking about, the importance of God in our life and why how God plays such a great role in our life. So we'll start with the verse, which is Tapasvino dana parayas asvino manasvino mantra vida sumangalaha shemam na vindati vinayad arpanam tasmai subhadra shravase namo namaha. And Prabhupada translates, let me offer my respectful obeisances unto the all-auspicious Lord Sri Krishna again and again, because the great learned sages, the great performers of charity, the great workers of distinction, the great philosophers and mystics, the great chanters of Vedic hymns, and the great followers of Vedic principles cannot achieve any fruitful result without dedication of such great qualities to the service of the Lord. So, reading through the purport, there were two main things that I took away, which from what Prabhupada is saying is, right, whatever we're able to do, right, any action, even working in our job, working, cleaning the house, whatever it may be, we are able to do it only because it's made possible by the grace of God. So Krishna is allowing us to do that. And that shows how important God is, because we've been blessed with all the facilities to carry out whatever actions that we need to carry out. So the first thing is Prabhupada is giving us this, that we should always have this mood, that we should be thankful to God and pay proper respect to God, and that's God as in like Krishna, and we should be always thanking Krishna, and we sometimes talk about how even demigods, right? Like demigods, while we don't directly worship them, we still have to give them respect because they are also devotees, and they're carrying out their duties in the service of the Lord. So we should be respectful to Krishna. We should be respectful to demigods. We should be respectful to devotees, guru, everybody, because it's only by their mercy that we are able to do anything that we do, and that that carries over to our our who we are as a person, right? So our family, our parents, our spouses, our children, whatever it might be, we should always have this mood of thankfulness, because whatever that we have, and whatever that we're able to do, it's because we have this grace of God, and you have to remember God in whatever we do because of that. So then that directly translates to the second point. Prabhupada talks in the purport about how many people do different things, like they're very advanced in learning, like they have PhDs, or they are very knowledgeable about something, or they're very good at economic development, or research, or even study in Vedic literature. All of these things that they're executing their work as with the proper mood, and as sacrifice, in the sense that they are sacrificing their lower nature or lower tendencies to do something for a particular purpose, right? So instead of going to gambling or doing something like that, or drinking or intoxication, they are pursuing something because it's the right thing to do. And Prabhupada also uses examples like charity, opening hospitals, distributing prasadam, distributing books. All of these things are what Prabhupada deems as high qualities in a person, and that's nothing but people acting in the mode of goodness instead of mode of ignorance or mode of passion. So that high qualities, it's good that we have those high qualities and we have the motive of thankfulness to God to be able to do those things. But if we don't do those things with dovetailing it to Krishna, then it won't get us anywhere. So it won't get us further in our spiritual life. So that's the main point, is one, we have to recognize God, and two, we have to always dovetail whatever we do in the mode of goodness, as an offering to Krishna and as offering to God, and connect that the action that we're doing directly is for pleasing Krishna. And that's where some personal applications Prabhupada mentions, and as well in the purport, come to mind, is when we do this connection of every action that we do to Krishna, we will find that many actions we can directly connect, right? So if we do chanting, we're directly connected to Krishna. But maybe, like for me personally, when I'm working, I don't feel as connected to Krishna through my work. But as devotees in Satsar Prabhu, just with Mataji explained, like we have to perform our work, even working as an offering to Krishna, and that's how we should connect. And before we work, we should chant and pray that, okay, Krishna, I'm doing this as an offering to you. But that there's basically a spectrum, right, of, okay, we do all of these activities, but certain things we are directly connected, certain things we may not be fully connected, but we should learn to connect those things that, may not seem immediately directly connected to Krishna, back to Krishna. So, if we are cleaning our house, or if we are doing something, we are doing that as a service to Krishna to, maintain a nice environment to chant. Or, if we are, going for a walk or something, we may think of it as materially as like physical exercise, but we should think of it connecting to Krishna as an activity where we are maintaining our body so that we can utilize our body to serve Krishna. So that's the step that we need to take. And the other personal application that I thought was, we'll find that there are many activities where we can't connect to Krishna. And what that will usually mean is that, we if we are really stretching to connect it to Krishna, then it means that it is truly somewhat, sense gratification. So, for me personally, like I used to play video games, and still sometimes now I will play occasionally, and I, over time, you realize that you really can't connect that to Krishna. It's really just a, sense gratification activity. Same thing with like, watching like TV or sports or some entertainment. It's very difficult because we really can't connect that to Krishna. So we should understand from that, that's really just an activity of sense gratification because there's no Krishna there. So maybe, we should watch devotional videos instead. We can watch, there's hundreds and thousands of lectures on YouTube that we can watch, and there's many things that we can read about Krishna instead of reading something else or engaging in something else. So that's the other personal connection there. So the personal application is, we have to, like Prabhupada says in the purport, we have to maintain the body, but if the maintenance is for sense gratification, then that's the wrong thing. So preaching application wise, we have a choice to either do something selfishly or for the greater good. So that's this idea of, high qualities, mode of goodness. We can be in mode of goodness, or we can be in other modes. And Prabhupada makes this interesting point as well, that self-interest can sometimes be, it's twofold. One is you can be selfish for yourself, or you can be selfish for others, but it's both is still being selfish, because he gives the example of a thief, like a thief stealing for personal reasons or stealing for his family is still doing the wrong thing. So sometimes, we might be thinking, oh, we are doing this because we want to please our spouse, or we want to please our neighbors or friends or something like that. But when we step back, it's really that we are doing it for ourselves and our own sense gratification. So it's really not something that we can connect back to Krishna. So next verse is 2:18. So I think just for time, I will just go directly into realizations. So this verse talks about all the different races and how different nations around the world and different types of people around the world can, despite how sinful they might be, even us, even though we are so sinful, we can be purified by taking shelter of the devotees of the Lord, because he's the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So Prabhupada, if the purport's very interesting, because Prabhupada connects every single nation or group of people here to present day, and he does that basically, to show us how all of these nations were, people that all of these references are people in actual places in the current day, and we can relate to them because Prabhupada is helping us make this connection. So that's one important thing. The other important thing Prabhupada says is, he praises Jesus Christ and Muhammad as powerful devotees because they are expanding Lord Chaitanya's mission, right, which is to establish, there's expanding Krishna's mission, which is to establish dharma and bring back religiosity, but they're also extending Lord Chaitanya's mission because they're bringing people to the path of dharma, and at least on that path, then eventually they can be regulated enough to come to Krishna consciousness. The other thing Prabhupada says is all of these people, when he's talking about all of these different nations and how they're all in different levels of consciousness, he talks about how they've become such people or nations with these qualities because of the leaders of those nations, because the leaders themselves don't have the understanding of Krishna consciousness, they don't have understanding of dharma, and they don't understand how to actually rule and move society forward. So as a result, Prabhupada says, devotees should advise politicians, they shouldn't become politicians, should advise politicians on what is the proper thing to do. The last thing Prabhupada says is, he says, back in the day, these societies may have followed some version of Varnashrama society, but now it's very difficult to reestablish that society because of the degradation of society and how society is now. So the best path that we can follow to guide everyone and for us to go back to Godhead is bhakti. And the application is that we shouldn't really, we should give everybody a chance to go back to Krishna. We should preach Krishna consciousness and accept anyone from the part of the world, and that's what Prabhupada's mission and ISKCON is all about. Preaching application is, I think, really we can use this to establish how we are all set from the same. We are all cut from the same cloth. We're all basically born into one nation or another because of our desires and our level of consciousness. So no matter what the background is, regardless, we all have the ability to go back to Godhead if we take shelter of Krishna. And finally, it's that there's no requirements to surrender, so anybody can surrender. Sometimes in Hinduism, we say that, you have to be a certain caste or you have to be a certain of certain birth, and Prabhupada says, that's not the case. It's by quality and action and character and not by birthright. So next verse, this verse is 19th. Sukhdev Goswami here is talking about how the Supreme Lord is a super soul, and he exists in all human, in all living entities. He's personification of the Vedas, scriptures, austerities, and he's worshipped by everyone free of any pretensions. So what we can learn from the purport is we have to surrender to Krishna unconditionally. If we have conditions, then our destination will change and our path will change. Right? So Prabhupada in the purport, he brings up the verse from Chaitanya Charitamrita, which is, Krishna Bhakta Nishkama Ata Eva Asanta Bhukti Mukti Siddhikami Sakali Santa. Which is because a devotee of the Lord is desireless, he's peaceful. So Santa is peaceful. Fruitive workers desire material enjoyment. So those are karma yogis. Jnanis desire liberation. So they desire some mukti. Yogis desire material opulence. So they desire some siddhi or some power. And then therefore they are all lusty and cannot be peaceful. So if we have some condition or we have some desire, then if we desire to speculate or we desire some material thing or benefit, then our path will be difficult. It'll be we won't be peaceful. So we won't be with happiness. So instead, we should surrender unto Krishna and with nishkama, which is without any desire. And the best way to do that, right, is be pretensionless, as Prabhupada calls it, which is, it in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also talks about, how we have to withdraw our senses and only engage when we need to. So that's how we should one, from our senses perspective, we should be withdrawn, and then also from a desire perspective, we should strive to not have any ulterior motive or desire. I think we talked about this preaching application, which is just explaining to people how different desires will lead to different results. So I'll skip to 21. In this verse, we stress the word anupashanti, which is it's I forget what it means, but it in the verse, Sukhdev Goswami is talking about that Krishna is the one that gives liberation, and we have to think of him at every second, following the footsteps of authorities. If we do that, then we can be in trance and see the absolute truth, go back to Godhead. If we are just there to speculate or just get something from Krishna, like we desire something, we go to Krishna, we get it. We desire something, go to Krishna, we get it. And then we forget about Krishna in between. Then we won't be able to progress on the spiritual path. So in the purport, Prabhupada says yogis only get one glimpse, and if that, of the Lord. So if we are maybe in Ashtanga Yoga or something, we can hope that we can get one glimpse of the Lord. And however, devotees, if we serve the Lord continuously and we are free from, and we become free from our anarthas, our material contamination, we can become established in the real trance, which is we can see the Lord in everything, in everyone, and everywhere. And so that's the real trance of bhakti. And Prabhupada says, if we're just speculating about the Lord, or we are saying, oh, the Lord is like this, the Lord is like that, and I want to see this of the Lord or that of the Lord, then that will not get us Krishna. It will only bhakti and service can take us to the Lord, and the only way to do that is through a bona fide guru to guide us. So there's personal application wise, we have to always remember that we are fallen, we are in the material world, and we say that we should chant in the mode of being lower than the blade of grass, right? So that's the mood we should also have here in everyday life, is that we should always remember that we are fallen, and that we should pray to the Lord to pick us up and engage us in his service. So if we are fallen, then we can always go in any path, right? We can think of Krishna one moment, we can not think of Krishna in another moment. So that's our conditioned nature. So we have to work deliberately to always remember Krishna, and that's where that's the hard work. That's the hard work that we have to put in until the time of our death. So every moment that we put in towards that hard work, and we sacrifice whatever our senses may want for serving Krishna, then that will surely pay off. Krishna will surely protect us at the time of death. And then preaching application wise, it's maybe this verse can be used to connect to people that the world is filled with suffering, right? It's full of dukkhalayam. And as a result, right, we have to that means that we are in the fallen world. So as a result, we have to pray to the Lord. We have to pray to the higher power to lift us out of there. Prabhupada also says in the purport that the Lord is not a shopkeeper. He's simply not just somebody that you go to get something, and then he's he has, it's like Walmart, you can go and get anything and then you can come out and be happy. That's not how the Lord works. Maybe, if demigods are equivalent of Walmart, you can go pay and get whatever you want. But the God is Krishna is not like that. The Supreme Lord is not like that. He's not aiming to please everyone. He's aiming to protect everyone, provided that they surrender unto him, right? So if we surrender unto him and truly are engaged in his devotional service, then we have some hope that will be protected. And Prabhupada says, the humbleness of a pure devotee who is 100% and engaged in his service puts the devotee of the Lord in a trance by which to realize everything. So only by doing this hard work will we be able to see Krishna. And the Lord will, help us remember him and reveal himself to him, which in Bhagavad Gita 10:10, it's Pesam Satata Yuktanam Vajatam Priti Purvakam Dadami Buddhi Yogam Tam Yena Mam Vayantite. Those who are constantly devoted to serving me with love, I give the understanding by which they can come to me. I know I'm close to time. Maybe the only thing I will cover is the last verse, which I didn't get to cover last time, and then we can end. So in this last verse, Sukhdev Goswami is praying to the Lord that he can get the Lord's blessings so that he can recite to Parikshit Maharaj all of the realizations in Srimad Bhagavatam properly, so that Parikshit Maharaj can be liberated. So in this verse, right, the main thing that we have to take away is that we are an instrument of the Lord. Anytime we think of ourselves as the doer or contributor, we are in the mode of ignorance. So we are not the doer. We have Jagat, Jiva, Jagat, and Jagadish. We are just one portion, and we just have our endeavor. And then the next thing is nothing can move without the sanction of the Lord. So that is the Jagadish part of any action. And while we have free will, it has to be sanctioned in accordance with our karma, right? Which is our it's the Lord and Paramatma in our heart sanctioning that something can happen. The environment around us, which is Jagat, also the Lord provides. So everything that we do, right? We are subject to the Lord. So the jiva ourselves, we are an expansion of the Lord, a spark of the Lord. The environment is from the Lord, from the Lord's energies, and then the authorization to do anything comes from Paramatma, which is also from the Lord. So what we have to realize is we are just an instrument in all of this. So whatever that we experience, we have to be the instrument for Krishna that is the closest to its original purpose, right? Which is the original purpose of the soul is to serve Krishna. So that's the best way that we can be a proper instrument. If we have an instrument and we use a knife for peeling something, it's much more difficult, right? So as an instrument, our purpose is to serve Krishna, so we have to serve Krishna. If we do something else, then we may eventually come back to Krishna, but it'll be very difficult for us. And ultimately, that is what Sukhdev Goswami is praying for, that he can be an instrument so that he can help liberate Parikshit Maharaj, and he can help give devotees the knowledge by which they can go back to Godhead, and he can continue the Guru Parampara of Brahma. So last point is, what should we evaluate? We talked about this last time, is will the Lord be pleased with me today? And some, from reading the purports again, some new things to think of is oftentimes the answer will be we have room for improvement. There are things that may not directly connect to Krishna, so we should, aim to change ourselves. And the only way to change is through prayer and through chanting. Chanting, in my experience, gives us the strength to not do something that we shouldn't do. So, by engaging in something that is higher, we can develop taste for it. And, firsthand, I can say that, I was able to develop some little taste for chanting. So I was able to drop some lower tastes. So when we pray and we chant, we get the strength. And when we find ourselves in a similar situation, or a similar environment, we will surely have the power to eventually change. And it's a gradual process. So even if we're not able to change immediately, it will happen. So we just have to keep chanting and keep praying, and as long as we do that, we will be under the protection of the Lord. So with that, devotees, I will end. Please forgive me if I made any mistakes. Thank you, Mataji, Satsang Prabhu, Mataji, for this opportunity. And with that, we will end here. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare. Thank you, devotees.
Thank you, Prashanth Prabhu. That was a fantastic presentation. In such short notice, you did so well. That's amazing. Thank you so much. And I really like the format that you put 3 parts to every verse: Prabhupada's mode and mission, and personal application, preaching application. It was very nice to understand the verses. You gave us a different perspective. So wonderful. I would like to take quickly 3 points that I would bring up. It's like you very nicely explained there's a very thin line between, are we doing it for God, Lord, or are we doing it for sense gratification? So we have to be very careful what we do, where we are crossing, whether we have ulterior motive. That's what matters, right? And Lord can only be known when we are not pretending. And then the world is full of sufferings. The only way out is to remember Krishna and to pray to Krishna. And we have to be gratitude for all that we have. And we shouldn't take for granted the opportunities that we have. And finally, the takeaways were wonderful. So with that, let's always chant, the association of devotees, read Prabhupada's books, and continue to do devotional service. With that, we conclude the program today. Once again, thank you, Prashanth Prabhu. That was a great class. Thank you all devotees for joining the BhagavatSanga program. We will see you all next week. Hare Krishna.